doesn't live in one zip code anymore. It has changed its frontiers. So our next topic is the frontier, the growing constellation of startup ecosystems outside of the Valley. And for this discussion, we're going to have with us on stage Sterios Voskopoulos, founder and CEO of Altnovel, and Kristina Serafim, VC investor. And I would like to have a very big round of applause for them.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. How are we doing today? I see many leaving, a few more are coming. It's great to be here. We're actually very proud of what the Panathēnea team put together. And the topic is actually about, it's very relevant to what Panathēnea is about. It's about the frontier. And Greece is one of these markets that is becoming now a frontier, is a new ecosystem. I'm Sterios Voskopoulos. I'm a founder. I'm based in Abu Dhabi, in the Middle East. I've been there for a while. I was in the US, in the UK. I was in Asia for a while and back in the Middle East. And we are allocators also into funds. And VC is one of the asset classes that we're always looking at. And I'm very glad to be here today with Kristina Serafim from Untethered Ventures.
Yes, thank you.
Nice to have you here, Kristina.
Nice to
and
meet you.
I'm very glad to exchange, like views of how we see the world of VC evolving outside Silicon Valley, where Kristina is coming from, and moving to Greece. Welcome to Greece, Kristina.
Thank you.
And that's what actually we would like to start from all these positive dynamics and the shifts that we see now, Kristina, around the world. I mean, I'm a witness of that. I'm in the Middle East. I remember 10 years ago, in the Middle East, the VC space was still in the very beginning. We didn't have any stories, any success stories, until Souk was sold to Amazon and Karim was sold to Uber. And that's when it started, right? Many people from the teams in the beginning of these two firms became venture capitalists themselves, and they set up their own funds. And now we are here in Greece, Kristina. So maybe I would like to hear from you, how was your decision-making process? Why Greece? You're coming from Silicon Valley, you work for a large corporate VC, Verizon Ventures.
Yeah, so before I get into that, let me maybe give a little bit of background. I have been in the venture space for about 12 years. I was at Verizon Ventures for 8, and we launched Untethered Ventures within the last 2 years. I was also an entrepreneur for about a decade before that. Co-founded 2 enterprise SaaS companies from start all the way through acquisition. I have been involved in the Greek market for the last, even since I was at Verizon Ventures, I looked at companies, startup companies that were coming out of Greece. I collaborated with venture funds that were based in Greece, and I have seen this ecosystem evolve, especially over the past several years. So it's a very impressive and tremendous growth for the ecosystem, and it's just an indication of what's to come in the future. So why Greece? We believe that we have seen actually, not just believe, but we've seen tremendous growth of the ecosystem, and we've seen differentiation for funds like us in order to enable our portfolio companies to gain access to talent, to gain access, in certain cases, to data and other benefits that this ecosystem provides.
So when we say data, what do we mean? Like, what is the real differentiation that you see when you move out from Valley today and come to the frontier markets?
Yes. So we invest primarily in healthcare and life sciences, transformation, so technologies that apply to these sectors. But this is general across all industries, that I think we're building global companies, right? Whether they are born in Greece, or what we are looking to do is really help companies throughout other parts of Europe and US, including Silicon Valley, to take advantage of the benefits of this ecosystem and help them establish presence in Greece and help them take advantage of what the ecosystem brings. That helps both the companies as well as the Greek ecosystem grow beyond just the companies that are born and initiated here in Greece. And we've seen this happen in multiple markets across the world. We were talking earlier, I gave you an example of one of my startups. We actually had a part of the company and the R&D team was based in South America. This was in the early 2000s. We've seen that market grow. We've seen a lot of parts of Eastern Europe grow, and we are seeing that kind of growth happening here finally in Greece, and I think that we're really excited to be part of that growth, in both directions, helping Greek companies access customers globally and helping global startups take advantage of the Greek ecosystem.
That's amazing. That's what I would like actually to share with the audience too, right? That what we see here live, it's a fund, people with all the know-how from Silicon Valley moving to Greece to set up a fund. We as fund allocators, me being a Greek, having left a long time ago and now being back here more involved, this is the real shift, right? Because all this know-how of all of these years that you gained by interacting with startups, with founders in Silicon Valley, it's moving to Greece, but it has to be also applied and adopted to Greece, right?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I think that we have seen over time a lot of founders that spend time at startups or founding startups in Silicon Valley, Greek founders that have made that transition, and especially over the last several years, and have initiated bringing that know-how here back to Greece. And as a fund, we look to scale that effort across multiple startups and bring the know-how in both directions, right? I think that there is definitely a lot of history and a lot of experience that we can bring from Silicon Valley, but I also think that there are a lot of startups and talent here in Greece that bring differentiation to startups that are born here and can grow globally beyond the Greek ecosystem at their later stages of their growth. We have seen this, and we strongly believe that the Greek ecosystem is a great place to get that early validation, get the early first founder market fit and then product market fit, and then we look to help our portfolio startups grow in their later stages of, let's say, Series B and beyond, access both funding and customers in a global market, because this is where the stage where the Greek market is right now. It is a necessary step in order for the companies to grow beyond that initial phase. But the initial phase, and this is we focus on early stage startups up to Series A, where we can really get that differentiation here in getting the founder market fit and the product market fit through some of these benefits that the ecosystem allows for, and help them scale and grow. We talked earlier also that the Greek venture ecosystem and the venture funds have done a stellar job thus far, and we see this expanding and growing, the VC ecosystem, but it does still feel like it is mostly focused on the earlier stages. So what happens to the companies when they get to Series B and beyond? The size of the rounds get significantly larger, the valuations get significantly larger. They're supported by revenue growth that's needed from customers outside of Greece. And this is the step in the growth stage that we look to help our portfolio companies with the network that we have built both in Silicon Valley as well as other parts of the world that we can leverage in order to bridge that, bridge them to that growth stage and make them successful. That success is beneficial. We share the same economics. If the startups are successful, if our portfolio is successful, the fund is also successful.
Yeah. So it's a mindset, right? So, I mean, Greece has evolved over the past 10 years. There are many VC funds here. Founders can find capital, get some good guidance and support. But I think the next phase is what we're talking about here today. I'm myself an angel investor in Greece. So what I always, when I work with the founders, it's always about the mindset, like think beyond Greece. It's not all about Greece. Greece is a small market. A good example is Finland. And that's how we all got inspired with Slosh, and also the fact that Finland has the highest number of unicorns per capita in the world. And with my friend Peter, who we will hear tomorrow, the founder of Slosh, we will be discussing about this, right? How did it start? It started 20 years ago with Slosh, when the culture was not there. The founders could not thinking to take the risk, to go become an entrepreneur, and also find the right capital to support them. So it has grown to where it is today. That's where Greece, or countries like Greece, can become when the bottom-up approach, is happening, and with also capital, not organically from Greece is there, but also capital being coming here with experience like your fund, Kristina, and others to take it further. But this is a mindset shift, right?
Yes.
Where are the challenges, though? Because, as we were discussing, right, the capital can come, but are there enough deals out there, startups, founders, incentives, structures?
Yeah.
Could you please share a little bit more about this?
Exactly, and that's what I guess if we can broadly categorize as the infrastructure. We see the huge improvement in the infrastructure, but it is a process that it's still evolving. So the infrastructure, including the size of the companies that we can consider, a funnel that we can build, a funnel that resembles a funnel that we've seen in other more developed markets like Silicon Valley, where we, as a early stage fund, we need to start looking at 3,000 or more companies in order to invest in 10 to 15 companies. At the end, that is the typical funnel. Can the Greek market support this funnel today? Today it is growing, and we eventually will get there, but how can we be a part of that growth? So how we at Untethered are part of that growth is, as I mentioned earlier, we help companies in both directions. We first look at companies that are in Greece that we can support in the earliest stages with both capital and product market fit. The product market fit, in our opinion, is a critical stage, because this is where 90% of the companies fail in the world, not just Greece. Why do they fail in the product market fit stage? Because they don't often have sufficient access to customers to understand, are they building the right product that is matching the right customer need? That customer access, it's sometimes difficult to have if you don't have the industry experience, the longevity, and the right access, and this is what we look to help leverage our experience and access to customers to help Greek companies get accelerated product market fit. Second, we also are looking at helping global companies come to Greece and leverage the ecosystem by setting up presence here in order to boost that top funnel so that we have enough early stage startups as not just our fund, but all of the funds that exist in Greece, as well as attract other early stage funds like us to come to Greece as well and bring capital from the outside. So to expand the available number of startups for funds like us to consider and invest in, we have to look at globally for that. And I think that the system is well positioned to support that global growth, but we were talking about infrastructure. All the elements of the infrastructure have to be there. The mindset, the economics, the standards and milestones that a company is consistency across these milestones that a pre-seed or seed or Series A company needs to reach, that have, for example, in Silicon Valley over decades, have standardized to some extent in the sense that a company knows what needs to be achieved by pre-seed funding or seed funding. So that know-how, little bit of guidance and support and direction we can provide to the companies will benefit that infrastructure so that we can eventually get there.
Yeah, and we as fund allocators, right, when we invest in a fund, we want to make sure that the fund investing in a company will have an exit. So if you want to have an exit after 4, 5, 6 years, you need to have built a business plan, a model where you are beyond the, if you are a Greek startup, right, you are beyond the Greek market. We have Balkans, but also, you know, we have examples of companies which started in Greece, but moved to US, moved to Middle East, moved beyond, right? So
yes, exit is definitely slightly, well, similar, but a different point of view that I have here, that I believe companies should be thinking about the exit from the early stages and positioning their product development for potential exit by most commonly an acquisition. Sure, IPOs are another potential avenue, but it's more rare across the board for startups. Just the growth and just if you look at statistically, it's more rare. But for acquisitions, we can the VC funds that the startups work with should be able to help in support in positioning their product, their solutions for a potential exit down the road, if they, depending on the market, to really understand who are the major players in the market that are interested in acquisitions, what are the gaps in these acquirers, and how do I build a product that directly matches those gaps so that the likelihood of exit is significantly improved as the company continues to progress and evolve.
Okay, great. Thank you. I think in the audience we have many founders, right, or talent from Greece and beyond. We have 3 more minutes. Maybe we can open it up for any Q&A. You can ask us anything about Kristina, about anything. Do you have any questions? Mr. Papandreou, please.
Thank you, Kristina, for investing in Greece. If you had to make changes in Greece, what would your major priorities be to help the startup ecosystem? What would be the main things we should do? To be a little critical also.
Yes, so I think to his earlier point about the mindset, I think we've seen a lot of startups get to a certain point and then leave the country at that growth stage because they don't feel like they have the support here to go in the growth stages. They don't feel like they have, maybe there's no, the infrastructure is not there. So I think that this is where there has to be a collective support to make sure that the economics for the company and the startup, they're still startups at that stage, they're just later stage growth startups, remain in Greece. I think the exits also, if there's more exits in Greece and more acquisitions by Greek acquirers, there's a deeper incentive for the companies to stay here. But also the mindset being a global mindset to contain the presence in Greece and continue maybe growth in the near term in other markets, while also growing the Greek presence is something that incentives have to be there. So if the incentives are there for all aspects of the ecosystem, companies would be more incentivized to stay. Because this is a part that I personally would really like to see change, so that that talent, the growth, the benefits of starting and growing an early stage company can stay there in the country even as the company evolves to the later stages and through an exit.
Yes, I would like to take your point of view about the startup ecosystem in Europe. How you see it coming from Silicon Valley?
In Europe in general, or
Yeah,
Greece specifically?
In Europe, what is the changes, if you have seen some changes the last 5 years in Europe?
Yes. I feel that in the last 5+ years, significant improvement in the ecosystem that resembles Silicon Valley. So improvements in the ability for the companies to have, like I was talking about earlier, a standardized, a more commonplace understanding of what is the quality and milestones that early stage startups or any stage startup needs to meet in order to be on that pathway of increasing valuation, increasing revenue opportunities, and growing beyond all the way to an exit. So I've seen definitely, I mean, one of my startups back in the early 2000s had presence also in Europe and Switzerland, and I've seen that for the last 20 years, the ecosystem evolve in a very positive direction. So I'm really excited to be part of that continued growth.
Great. I think we're done, or can we take one more question?
Sure.
Okay, please.
Thank you. Just a quick question. What are the biggest challenges you're anticipating so far in Greece? How could you summarize them?
The challenges.
The biggest challenges, I think it's still, I would go back to the mindset topic that we talked about, and just to be a little more specific on mindset, for instance, as an example, at a very simple level, we've seen a lot of early stage startups not seeing the potential of equity, for instance, as a compensation. That is very different well, it's different in Silicon Valley for sure, but in other parts of the world as well. So why is that? It's sometimes because of past experience where they haven't seen the value of equity as a form of compensation. They haven't seen, because equity is such an important piece for me for early stage startups. It means that everybody in the company at any level is really committed to the growth of the company. And so if the key employees and early stage employees are not seeing that value, there is a significant problem that the companies and the ecosystem has. And that's that change of mind shift that I think needs to happen. And for that to happen, I think there has to be enough examples of that equity paying off, so that everyone is invested in the future of the startup they're working for and the ecosystem as a whole.
Yeah. So I think it's all about risk and return sharing, and that's the mindset that has to come. I've seen it in the Middle East, and it's happening here too. So that's why Panathēnea is happening, right?
Yes.
And we took the example of Finland, something similar. Young people are organizing it, we're just supporting. And it's about education, mindset shift, and infrastructure development. And thank you so much, Kristina.
Thank you.
It was a great session. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.